Dolly Parton is gone. One of the most recognized entertainers America has ever produced died at 80 years old, leaving behind a career that stretched across more than 5 decades, over 100 million records sold worldwide, and 10 Grammy Awards. The woman who came from a one-room cabin in Locust Ridge, Tennessee, and turned herself into a global icon is no longer with us. But before she left, Dolly left behind stories. Stories about the people she worked alongside, the choices she made, and the moments that defined her life in ways the public never fully understood. And one of those stories involves Elvis Presley. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what Dolly revealed about Elvis, why it still shocks people, and how one phone call shaped the rest of her financial life. Dolly Rebecca Parton was born on January 19, 1946. Elvis Presley was already a teenager living in Memphis. They came from different musical worlds. Elvis was rock and roll. Dolly was country, rooted in the Smoky Mountains, shaped by gospel and bluegrass. But by the 1970s, they shared the same industry, the same radio stations, and many of the same fans. Dolly had enormous respect for Elvis. She never described their connection as romantic. What she described was something more layered than that, a professional story with a deeply personal ending. In 1973, Dolly wrote a song called "I Will Always Love You." She wrote it as a farewell to Porter Wagoner, the country star whose television show had helped launch her career. She was leaving his show to go out on her own, and the song was her way of saying goodbye without bitterness. It was personal. It was hers. Then Elvis Presley's team came calling. Word reached Dolly that Elvis wanted to record "I Will Always Love You." For a songwriter still building her name, that was almost impossible to take in. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, interested in her song. She later described hearing this as something she could barely believe. The exposure alone would have been enormous. Elvis recording one of her compositions could have reshaped everything about how the industry saw her. She initially saw it as an incredible opportunity. Most people in her position would have said yes before the conversation was finished. Then came the demand. Elvis's management, led by Colonel Tom Parker, had a standard condition attached to any song Elvis recorded. The artist would have to hand over a portion of the song's publishing rights. This was not a small ask. Publishing rights are where the real money lives in music. Every time a song plays on the radio, gets licensed for a film, or appears in a commercial, the publisher collects. Giving up a portion of those rights means giving up income for the rest of your life and beyond. Dolly was being asked to sign away a share of something she had written from the most personal part of herself. The demand did not come from Elvis personally. It came through his management. But the choice was hers to make. Say yes, and Elvis records your song. Say no, and Elvis walks. Dolly said no. She later talked about how devastating that decision felt. The people around her thought she had lost her mind. Turning down Elvis Presley was not something anyone did lightly. Dolly herself admitted she wondered whether she had just made one of the worst decisions of her career. She cried over it. She second-guessed herself. But she would not give up ownership of what she had written. Then, years later, she heard something that gave the story an entirely different meaning. Dolly shared an account involving Priscilla Presley. According to Dolly, Priscilla told her that around the time of her divorce from Elvis, he had sung "I Will Always Love You" to her. Not a studio recording. Not a performance for an audience. A private moment between two people ending a marriage, with Elvis choosing that particular song to say what he apparently could not say any other way. Elvis never officially recorded the song. But if Priscilla's account is accurate, the song reached him anyway, and it reached him in a way that had nothing to do with publishing rights or commercial releases. It reached him in a quiet room, at one of the hardest moments of his life. That detail changes how you hear everything that came before it. Dolly thought walking away from Elvis might haunt her. For a while, it did. But in 1992, Whitney Houston recorded "I Will Always Love You" for the film The Bodyguard. The recording became one of the best-selling singles in history. Because Dolly had held on to the publishing rights, the money that flowed from Whitney's version flowed directly to her. The decision that once made her cry turned out to be one of the most financially sound choices any songwriter has ever made. By 2022, Forbes estimated Dolly's net worth at $650 million. Her songs, the ones she never gave away, were a major part of that. What this story reveals about Elvis is something his public image rarely showed. He was not simply chasing commercial product. According to Priscilla's account, that song meant something to him on a human level. The man who sold out arenas and made teenage girls scream apparently found something in a quiet country farewell song that he needed to hold on to privately. Elvis has been gone for nearly 5 decades now. Dolly is gone too. But the story they left behind survives, wrapped around a single song that one of them wrote, one of them wanted, and one of them sang alone in a room where no one was recording. If Dolly had given Elvis what he wanted, would she ever have become the woman who ultimately owned one of the most valuable songs in music history?